Well, hello everyone. My name is Chaz Price. I'm a certified financial planner at America's Retirement Headquarters, and thank you for tuning in this afternoon to our presentation. America's Retirement Headquarters is a team of financial planners and advisors that share a common goal. And the goal is to always give our clients the most comprehensive, up-to-date advice that we can, as well as the best-in-class service that they deserve. And one of the ways that we do that is by focusing on the things that we do well and relying on the collective experience of the other professionals in the office, such as attorneys and CPAs, to do what they do well. And so I'm thrilled this afternoon to be talking to you about Social Security, which just happens to be one of the expertise that I have in financial planning. And the presentation that I have for you today is called Social Security, the Choice of a Lifetime, which continues to be one of my most well-attended educational presentations and seminars. And it's often one of the most frequently discussed topics that I have in meetings with clients because of the impact that Social Security can have on your ability to make your money last. And the number one fear in my 20 years of experience that I found that most clients share is running out of money. So today we're going to talk to you about how the decision of when to collect Social Security can ultimately help make sure that your assets last a lifetime. So I have a quick disclaimer here for you, and just want to say that while I am a certified financial planner, I am not yet your certified financial planner. And what do I mean by that? Well, we're not giving any specific advice today or necessarily telling you what Social Security decision to make. Everyone's Social Security decision is different, and it should be made in the context of your overall financial situation as well as with the help of a trusted advisor. So my goal for today is really just to kind of give you some basic information to help you make some decisions and know which questions to ask when the time comes so that you're more informed and you can make better decisions. All right, so let's get started today because we've got a lot of information to cover. Why do I call my presentation Social Security, a Choice of a Lifetime? Well, because as soon as you become eligible, you have to decide when and if you're going to start claiming and taking your Social Security benefit. Most other government benefit programs, you don't have to decide. They automatically give them to you. But this one's different because you have to decide when to collect. So we're going to spend a lot of time on that today, talking about how you should think through and what approach you should take to making that decision. And then we're going to kind of segue a bit, switch gears, and talk about some of the more common Social Security rules and features. The operative word here is some, because we only have about 45 minutes, and there are literally 9,000 pages of Social Security laws and 700 different Social Security claiming strategies. So we're obviously not going to be able to talk about anything, but we just want you to walk away with an understanding and a general overview of some of the main topics that we think are important for our clients to know about Social Security. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about spousal benefits, survivor benefits, taxes. And at the end of the presentation, I'm thrilled to be able to offer you the opportunity to have a one-on-one meeting with myself and receive a complimentary Social Security optimization plan, which is going to detail the optimal strategy that you may want to consider and to help ensure that your retirement assets last a lifetime. So now the big question that I get asked most often is, Chaz, at what age should I start collecting Social Security? And if you look at the slide, what you'll notice is that there's a range of ages that people can claim Social Security. They can claim as early as age 62, and they can claim as late as age 70. So, we can claim at those any time literally during that time frame, any age there in between. Currently, the retirement age or the full retirement age, which is important for a person turning 62 in 2024, is age 67. And then also keep in mind that your Medicare is age 65 and over when you are eligible for Medicare. So full retirement age 67, Medicare is age 65. I think it's also important to note that you don't have to retire to collect Social Security. We'll come back to that, but just keep that in mind. So what I think is also helpful and interesting to start our conversation is discussing what most people do. And what we see is that nearly 2/3 of the American population claim Social Security before their full retirement age. And nearly 1/3 of the population claims as soon as they're available, as soon as they're eligible. Now, there's a lot of reasons why somebody might want to claim Social Security early. Maybe they're concerned about their health. Maybe they've been displaced from their job and they're having a hard time getting back into the workforce. Or maybe they have a loved one that they're taking care of and they had to leave the workforce. But whatever the reason is, what's important to know is that if you start taking Social Security early, you are potentially locking yourself into a reduced benefit for the rest of your life, which could be as much as 30%. Now, before we move on, let me draw your attention to the right side of the screen, which is, for a very small percentage of the people who wait to claim Social Security at age 70. Now, you might be saying, Chaz, why on earth would somebody want to wait until age 70 to claim Social Security? Well, just as if you claim early, you receive a smaller monthly check, what do you suppose happens if you wait to claim Social Security later in life? Well, you get a bigger monthly check. And that's very important if you are married, because if you're married and you have a bigger monthly benefit, or you're expecting a bigger monthly benefit from Social Security than your spouse on their own, a lot of people will wait until age 70 to claim Social Security because they want to maximize the survivor benefit. We're going to talk more about that later. But the survivor benefit is the benefit that your spouse ultimately will collect in your absence. And so the spouse wants to make sure that their surviving spouse receives the highest monthly income they can when they're gone. A lot of folks, or some folks I should say, wait till age 70 to claim their benefit. Now, one of the other big issues when it comes to claiming Social Security is, how long am I going to live? How long are people going to live? And especially when you think about waiting till age 70 to claim your Social Security, people are often say, well, Chaz, that means I got to live well into my 80s and 90s for that to make sense. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people tend to underestimate pretty significantly their life expectancy. So what we see on this slide here is that in the last 3 decades, the average couple, means pretty average, healthy for the most part, one of them is going to get to age 92. That means, on average, at least one of the spouse is going to live well beyond their life expectancy. So to get an average, some people have to live later than the average. Some people pass away sooner than the average. So that means, statistically speaking, some couples may even live well into their hundreds. Now, sometimes I ask when I'm in person with, a seminar or just one-on-one, I'll say, do you know anybody that's age 100? Often they say yes. A couple hands go up in the room. Then when I say, how many people feel 100? Definitely, sometimes a lot more hands go up. But the reality is that most people significantly underestimate their life expectancy. Now, we obviously don't get to decide on how long we're going to live. But what we do get to decide is how long we want to plan for. And so for myself, as I'm running the numbers, as I'm putting together retirement plans, I'm deciding when to take Social Security based on a planning age of 90. I think with today's medical advancements and healthcare and prescription drugs, age 90 is a reasonable assumption for a lot of people to make. Now, if things change and my health deteriorates, I can always reevaluate. But as for right now, that's the plan, that's the age that I'm banking on, and that's the one that I'm going to base my Social Security decision on. So just be aware, we obviously don't know how long you're going to live, but we do get to decide on how long you're going to plan for, and you could be around for a very long time. So potentially you may want to plan for being around a lot longer than what you think. Okay, so like I said, we do these presentations all the time, and one of the questions, again, we get asked is, okay, 66, 67, 70, it's only 3 or 4 years difference, Chaz. What's the big deal? How much are we really talking here? What's at stake? What's the big deal? Who cares if I take it a little earlier? And so what it comes down to is, sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes it's about you and your spouse, and you need to be making a decision about Social Security as a couple. And so here's a hypothetical example of Frank and Maria. Frank is age 62, Maria is 58. After being married for 30 years, they have a pretty significant nest egg saved up. They got about $600,000. Additionally, their monthly expenses are pretty robust, about $5,000 per month. Although Maria is still working, she makes about $1,000 per month. Frank, though, he's retired. He's a little concerned about his health, and he recently retired from his job. Has high blood pressure, has a family history of heart disease. He's concerned, and he wants to know what Social Security option is the best for him and Maria. On the flip side, Maria fortunately doesn't have any health issues, and Frank, wants to evaluate his options. So here are Frank's Social Security benefit amounts at key ages. So he can collect $1,680 right now at age 62. He could wait until age 67 and collect $2,400, or he could wait longer till age 70 and collect about $2,976. Okay, so what does Frank select? Well, he actually decides to collect benefits at age 70. Why would Frank do that? Conventional wisdom says that if I'm unhealthy, I should probably take my Social Security benefits earlier, right? It makes sense because I'm not going to live, I potentially may not live long enough to get everything out of Social Security that I paid. But not so fast, my friend. Like Lee Corso says, not so fast, because remember, it's not about you. It's about us. It's about your family and you and your spouse. So, when deciding as a couple, it was better for Frank to wait. And the reason is because if Maria outlives Frank as they're planning, as they expect, she at some point is going to qualify for Frank's survivor benefit. And this benefit is going to be equal to whatever Frank was receiving at the time of his death. So, if Frank passes away, Maria is going to inherit whatever Frank was receiving. Now, let's say, for instance, Frank passes away before age 70. Well, Maria is still going to be able to collect his full benefit, his full retirement benefit. Even if Frank passed away at 65, she would still be able to collect Frank's full retirement amount. And if Frank lives beyond his full retirement age of 67, Maria may even be able to get a little bit higher benefit potentially. Given that Maria is younger, she's in great shape, she's a female, statistically speaking, she's probably going to live longer than what her life expectancy is. And so the key here is just, it's essential to consider both spouses' age and longevity when planning for retirement and planning for Social Security. Okay? Let's look at another example. This is Earl. So Earl is also 62 and just retired. And he's trying to decide when to start his Social Security benefits. Unfortunately, Earl is a widower. His wife passed away a few years ago, but he has 2 grown children who are doing well. And actually, Earl is pretty healthy. More importantly, his parents are still living well into their mid-90s right now, and they're living independently. Earl also has a modest savings, about $350,000. He has simple needs. He's not interested in funding lavish lifestyles or retirement, travel, and his expenses, therefore, are only about $3,000 a month. Earl also owns a rental property that provides him about $3,000 a month. So his expenses are pretty much matched with his rental income. All right. Based on Earl's work history, he qualifies for a $1,400 a month benefit today at 62. He could wait till age 67, collect $2,000 a month, or wait till age 70 and get $2,480 per month. So what does Earl decide to do? Well, Earl also decides to wait to claim Social Security until age 70. Now, why would he do that? He's not married anymore. His kids are doing well. He has sufficient income to cover his monthly needs. Conventional wisdom might say, just take it. But Earl is healthy and his parents are still alive. And so there's a reasonable chance that he might actually live into his 90s, maybe even to his age 100. And so by waiting to claim, Earl is able to take advantage of the fact that Social Security offers a delayed retirement credit to boost his monthly check. So what that means is that every year that Earl waits to take Social Security past age 67, his benefit is going to grow by 8%. On top of that, if there's any measurable inflation, Social Security generally will provide a cost of living adjustment at the end of the year. And so it's based on the actual indicators that the government uses to address Social Security as well. And so, generally speaking, if there's inflation, Social Security is going to help keep up with it. So, effectively, Earl is using Social Security kind of as a form of longevity insurance should he live a long, healthy life. Now, Earl doesn't actually need to take his Social Security benefits now either, because remember, his monthly costs are covered by his rental income, and then he has a $350,000 savings cushion for any unexpected expenses. But if Earl's situation should change, he has enough flexibility to adjust and start taking Social Security immediately. So it seems like Earl's in a good place, and making the 70-year-old decision was good for Earl. I want to spend a little bit of time on this particular client. And this is Laura. And Laura's profile is very similar to Earl's, except that she does not have that $3,000 a month monthly rental income coming in. And she's healthy and she doesn't want to retire, but recently Laura lost her job, unfortunately, and she's having a hard time getting back into the workforce. Laura has the same exact Social Security benefit options as Earl: $1,400 at 62, $2,000 at 67, and $2,480 at age 70. Now her unemployment is about to run out. She's not going to have any income coming in. What should Laura do? Okay, again, conventional wisdom seems obvious, right? Take it right away, but no. Laura actually decides to wait until age 67. Now, why does she do that? Well, may not be the best option for her to wait. You don't know, because she needs income, but it may also make sense for her to wait, because if she ends up finding a job, she's not going to be penalized by the government. So again, although her work prospects are a little grim right now, if she does find a job and she's taking Social Security, the government doesn't like double dipping, essentially. They don't like when you're receiving Social Security prior to your full retirement age and still working and making a pretty significant amount. So we'll talk about how that works. But essentially, by waiting till age 67, Laura is able to avoid a reduction in her Social Security benefits from the government. Also, by waiting, Laura is able to avoid that reduction, the permanent reduction in her benefit. Remember, we looked at 30% as the possible reduction that you could lock in. So by waiting till 67, Laura avoids losing and permanently locking in a lower lifetime benefit, which gives her more time also to find a job. And then if she takes her benefits now, finds work later, as we said, Social Security might withhold some or most of her monthly benefits. So Social Security for Laura really is her biggest asset. And she wants to make sure that she's using her retirement savings now and delaying Social Security, because again, it is the biggest asset that she has. And that's sometimes a paradigm shift that we have to help our clients get from considering Social Security just income, looking at a difference of about $600 a month, to $1 million portfolio. And we'll talk about that in just a second here. But let me show you a little bit more why the decision for Laura to wait till age 67 made the most sense. Okay, so this chart shows Laura's retirement savings balance over time. You remember we started at $350,000. So if Laura is going to wait till age 67, remember she's only 62, she needs 5 years worth of income. And she needs 5 years worth of $3,000 per month, because she has no other sources of income. She's not working, unemployment ran out, and she's not going to take Social Security. So Laura will have to generate that $3,000 from somewhere, and it's going to come from her retirement savings. So claiming at age 62 will only generate about $1,400 a month. So if she claimed at age 62 she'd get $1,400 per month from Social Security, she would have to take the other $1,600 out of her retirement savings. And as you can see, her retirement savings depletes over time. And it actually hypothetically would run out in this scenario at age 88. Now, conversely, Laura's decision was to wait until age 67 to get her full retirement benefit, claim her Social Security. And look what happens. So by doing that, we have to bridge the gap. We have to get Laura from age 62 to 67. And that means for the first few years of Laura's retirement, drawing $3,000 a month from her retirement savings. So you can see here that there's a pretty sharp, pretty drastic drop. Her assets drop from $350 down to almost about $220,000. Okay. However, once she does that, because she only has to take $1,000 out per month for the rest of her life instead of $1,600, look at the slope of the depletion, the graph of her assets. Essentially, what it means is that she is able to generate that $3,000 per month for almost an additional 5 years. It takes her out to almost age 97. Or I'm sorry, yeah, age 94. Furthermore, Laura could even delay longer. If she decided to wait until age 70, that'd be a really drastic drop. She would essentially, deplete her entire retirement savings balance. However, by doing so again, her withdrawal from that point on, from 70 to the end of her life, would only be $520 per month. And you can see that further lessens the slope or the speed at which her retirement assets are spent. And that gets her almost out to age 100. Almost, I think it's around 70 or 97 to 98. So the decision for Laura made the most sense was to take Social Security at age 67. Okay, it maximized her benefit. She got the full retirement. She didn't lock in any reduction, and she could stretch her $3,000 a month income out to about age 97, which was a comfortable, more reasonable life expectancy. And then it also left her with a pretty significant balance, still over $200,000 at age 67, to cushion any emergencies that she might have. Okay? So that's why it makes sense for Laura to wait till age 67. But as I talked about, that decision of spending your money first is really a difficult paradigm to get clients to agree to. And the reason is because it's just not intuitive. It seems like, I'm spending the government's money first versus spending my own money. But that's why we talk about having to do a full shift in thought process and moving from the camp that Social Security is income to considering it an asset. Okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, first and foremost, half of the married couples and about 70% of the single Americans depend on that Social Security for the majority of their retirement income. So another way to think about that is, how much money would you have to have saved in a nest egg to generate the type of income on a monthly basis that Social Security can do? And not only just the income, but the cost of living adjustment that comes along with it. So for example, consider the average monthly Social Security check in 2021 was about $1,658. That equates to just about $20,000 in income for the year. Now, if you wanted to be able to generate $20,000 of income in a year, how much money would you have to have invested to do that? Well, looking at a 10-year treasury, and again, in full transparency, interest rates have skyrocketed since 2021. This presentation, these reports were prepared in 2021, but if interest rates go back down by the time you retire, which is possible, what goes up must come down, 10-year treasury pays what it was in 2021, it would take about $1.3 million to generate a $20,000 income. Additionally, at that time, CDs were paying even less, and a 1-year CD would take about $15 million to generate $20,000 for the rest of your life, cost of living, inflation adjusted. So for many people, Social Security is more valuable than your home. It's more valuable than any of your retirement accounts, generally, just about any other asset you own. So we need to treat it as such. So if you haven't given any thought to really what your Social Security strategy is going to be, if you just have decided at 62, I'm going to take it, I haven't been healthy, or I'm just entitled to it, and I'm going to take it because I can, that's absolutely a dangerous position to be in, because Social Security needs to be viewed as your most valuable asset and treated as such. So now let's kind of talk a little bit about the solvency of Social Security, because I know there's been a lot of sensationalism in the markets and the news about Social Security going bankrupt, and I want to set your mind at ease. So this chart shows that since the early 1980s, the total Social Security revenues, those FICA taxes, Medicare and Social Security that you pay, 7.65% comes out of your check, 7.65% comes out of your employer's pockets, to be about 15% is what's being paid in to Social Security. And since 1980, total Social Security revenues have been greater than the benefits that were being paid out. This has led to a surplus being built up over the last 40 years. And by the end of 2021, that Social Security trust fund, that surplus, was estimated to be worth about $2.9 trillion. Okay, however, in 2021, Social Security began running a deficit, and it had to dip into that trust fund to the tune of about $57 billion to help make sure that all the benefits it's promised to recipients were paid as promised. And so this deficit is becoming a more secular trend. It's expected to continue, and it's actually expected to accelerate into the future as the baby boomer generation continues to age. In fact, I think statistics show that there's about 12,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day. That's that many less people paying into, assuming they retire, that many people less paying into the Social Security coffers, and that many more people receiving benefits. So as that deficit trend continues to accelerate, as baby boomers continue to retire, Social Security will have to continue to dip into that trust fund, and estimates predict that by the year 2035, that trust fund is going to be depleted. Now, again, the news, you're going to hear from fearmongers that Social Security is going to end. This is the demise of Social Security. But that's not totally accurate. Even with the Social Security surplus fund or trust fund being depleted, Social Security still has enough payroll taxes being collected on an annual basis from workers and employers to pay about 80% of the benefits that are promised. Now, of course, I'm not trying to tell you that a 20% haircut in your Social Security benefits isn't hard to swallow. In fact, it's even harder to swallow when you take into consideration the fact that the people on Social Security are the ones that are most vulnerable to cuts in their income. It is a significant, issue, but I don't see it as being a huge issue for a couple of reasons. Primarily is because there are pretty simple ways for Congress to fix it. And one way would be by imposing an additional 3.42% tax, another increase in FICA taxes that, again, is split 50-50 by the employee and the employer. So it's only 1.7% extra. You may not even notice it at the end of the day. Another option includes raising the retirement age, as they've done in the past. First was 65, then it was 66, then it was 66 in some months. Now it's pretty much 67. In fact, I've even heard some talk of them delaying or completely eliminating Social Security for those people that are not yet in being, for those that haven't been born yet. But whatever the case is, it is a significant issue that Congress does have to address. Even if it has to become a crisis, though, before Congress acts. And we've seen that time and time again, especially with the budget deficit and kicking the can down the line, sometimes even a few weeks, just borrowing money, robbing Peter to pay Paul type strategies. Even if that comes to fruition for Social Security, I find it extremely hard to believe that the fastest growing population in the United States, those over 65, who also happen to be the most prolific and reliable voting constituency, are going to idly sit by and let America's seniors take a 20% haircut on Social Security. That's just my personal opinion, but it is obviously still to be determined. But the takeaway here is there's a lot that can be done. We have a little bit of time. I know Congress has to act, but I do believe something is going to happen. But we will see. All right, so let's talk a little bit now about spousal benefits. Spousal benefits were started back in the 1950s because at that time most women did not work outside of the home, and so as a result, only about 30% of women were qualified for Social Security at that time. So today, Congress and the government has incepted a spousal benefit. And your spousal benefit is generally about 50% of your spouse's PIA, or the primary insurance amount, which is the amount or the benefit that your spouse would receive at full retirement age. So for instance, if I worked a little bit, let's say I qualified based on my own earnings record for a Social Security benefit of $500 per month, and my spouse qualified for a $2,000 benefit at full retirement age. When I turned 62, I could either claim my benefit or I could claim my spousal benefit, which would be approximately $1,000. Now, if I claimed at age 62, remember, I would receive a reduced benefit because it's based on when I claim, not necessarily when my spouse claims. But the caveat here is that in order for you to collect a spousal benefit, your spouse must be claiming Social Security. So it doesn't matter at what age your spouse claims Social Security, they just have to be collecting Social Security for you to be able to receive your spousal benefit. You can wait until your full retirement age. Your husband or wife could have collected at age 62, but as long as you wait till full retirement, you will collect approximately half of whatever your spouse's full retirement benefit would be, even if they didn't wait till their full retirement age. Okay? Now, real quick, I want to talk about divorced benefits. If you were married for 10 years, divorced for at least 2, you qualify for the same spousal benefits based on your ex-spouse's earnings records as if you were still married. However, if you remarry before age 60, you can no longer claim Social Security spousal benefits on an ex-spouse. So, if you're thinking about getting remarried, if you're close to that age 60, you may want to wait, because if you do get married prior to age 60, it could potentially eliminate your ability to collect a spousal benefit on an ex-spouse's record. All right, there you go. There's a little bit of marriage advice for you there. Okay, second point here we're going to talk about is, what about work? So the answer is it depends. It depends on how old you are, and it depends how much you're making. Because as we said earlier, Social Security, the government, will temporarily withhold some of your benefits as a penalty for working and making too much while you're collecting Social Security. So it depends on how much you earn and the earnings limit. Now, there's an earnings limit for 2024, and it's $22,320. That is the limit. That is the maximum that you can make prior to your full retirement age of 67 for most. You can only make $22,320 before Uncle Sam and Social Security starts penalizing you and withholding some of your Social Security benefits. However, in the year you turn full retirement, the year you turn 67, if you're still working, penalty's a little less. You can actually make up to almost $60,000. It's the exact amount is $59,520. You can make up to $60,000 approximately before the government penalizes you, and the penalty is less. For instance, if you're under your full retirement age, still working, collecting Social Security will withhold $1 from your monthly Social Security check for every two that you make over and above $22,320. So let's keep it simple. Simple math. Let's assume you made $60,000 in 2024. Okay, that's $40,000 approximately over the Social Security limit for being under 67. Let's call it $20,000 for simple math. So that's $40,000 over. So if they take $2 for every one that you're over, $1 for every two that you're over, that's a $20,000 haircut. And so what generally happens is if your benefit is $2,000 a month, let's say for instance, Social Security just will withhold 10 months of your Social Security. And then, excuse me, and then once you reach your full retirement age, your benefits will start back again. Then again, during the year in which you turn full retirement or age 67, the penalty changes. The threshold changes. The earnings limit changes from $22,320 to $59,500, and the penalty changes in that it's $1 is withheld for every three that you earn over $59,520. So in that case, if you waited till full retirement age to start collecting, you made $60,000 in 2024, you're only roughly $500 over the limit. That would reduce your penalty significantly from $20,000 down to about $200. So the issue for me is not the penalty, because as I said earlier, it's temporary, meaning it's only until you reach your full retirement age. If there's been a reduction or if they kept a couple months of your payment, they'll start paying you the normal back. But the issue is just kind of the complexity of it and the hassle that you have to go through with the government. I've had clients come in, talk about Social Security and say they started early. It's been crazy. Social Security takes some of their check and then they put some back and then they change the amount and then they want to audit because they think that they paid you the wrong amount or too much. It's just a nightmare. It's a mess. My sensibility when it pertains to Social Security and working is don't. Very simple. If you're still working, you're not age 67 or even close, don't take Social Security if work is really one of the main considerations in making that decision. It's just a mess and it'd be a lot easier to wait. Okay? All right. And then, so we're going to talk about taxes a little bit. It's a very complex, I shouldn't say very complex, but it is a bit of a complex calculation to determine how much of your Social Security benefit is taxable. Needless to say, Social Security still is one of the most tax advantaged income sources on the planet. And at the most, you are going to only pay tax on up to 85% of your benefits. For some recipients, it could be you pay tax on only 50%. And on others, Social Security may not be taxable to you at all. Okay? So on the last slide here, or on this, the last point on this slide, I want to talk briefly about survivor's benefits. Now, your survivor benefit is a little bit of a unique animal in the sense that it's the only Social Security benefit where you can start with one amount and switch to another higher amount later on. So let's look at an example. Let's say my wife and I are still, working, and God forbid I pass away unexpectedly. When my wife reaches age 60, she is eligible to claim what's called as a survivor benefit. Okay? And albeit reduced, she has the ability to claim approximately half of whatever my full retirement age benefit would be, but it would be reduced. However, in the background, she still has her own benefit that will continue to grow until she reaches age 70, at which time then she could switch from the survivor benefit to her age 70 benefit, provided that it was higher than the one she was getting. So it is a unique feature about the survivor benefit. A lot of people don't know that, but unlike any other Social Security benefits where you have to stay with the benefit that you started with for the rest of your life, the survivor benefit is one where you can actually switch to a higher benefit at a later date. And lastly, you'll notice we didn't talk a whole lot about disability. That's a whole other presentation, a whole other, honestly, lifetime of learning. But what I think is important is that if you are age 62 and you have dependent children under the age of 18 at home, or 19 and still a full-time student, or you have a disabled child that was disabled before age 20, your children could qualify for Social Security benefits as well, based on your earnings record, and it's usually up to about 50% of what your benefit is. So again, if you have children, young children, 18 or 19, full-time students, or disabled before age 20, they also qualify for Social Security benefits. All right, quick little history lesson here for you. Who is this nice lady on the screen? Don't know? This is Ida Mae Fuller. And why do I show this? Well, Ida was the first ever Social Security recipient back in 1940. And guess how much money she received? $22.40. $22.40. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, because Social Security was never meant to replace 100% of your retirement income. And as a financial planner, I think that's an important consideration for you to know, because going into retirement, it's important to know what you're going to spend and where your sources of income are going to be. In fact, that is the crux of retirement, having enough income coming in to meet your needs. So when you look at what are some of the biggest expenses that you're going to have in retirement, well, first and foremost is your housing. That's probably going to be the biggest expense that you have. The days of paying off your mortgage, those have gone by the way of the dinosaur. And sometimes a lot of folks come in and have rent payments in retirement. The second biggest expense that you're going to have is healthcare. And that's even after, I'm not even talking about your Medicare Part B premiums and your Advantage Plan premiums and prescription drug premiums. This is just the out-of-pockets, the prescription drugs, the co-pays, the co-insurances that you could have. We estimate about $200,000 for a healthy couple for healthcare costs in retirement. And we haven't even mentioned transportation, food, utilities, any of that. So here's an exercise for you. Here's a takeaway from this presentation. Go home, crunch those numbers, and decide how much you actually are going to need for housing, for healthcare, for utilities, and transportation. Get that number, make it into a monthly dollar amount, and then download your Social Security statement from SSA.gov and compare the two. And what I almost guarantee you what you're going to find is that your Social Security is not going to be enough to cover even your guaranteed, your needs. We break expenses down at the Retirement Guys to wants, needs, wishes. I would argue that Social Security for most is not even going to cover your basic source of expense. So that's why you work with the financial advisor. That's why you're here today, quite honestly. That's why you've tuned in. If you've made it this far, it's because you understand that Social Security is not going to replace 100% of your retirement income, your pre-retirement income. It's definitely not going to cover all your expenses. And you recognize that you need a plan. We don't know what calamity is going to come upon the land, but we do have a plan for it. And having enough guaranteed income coming in to pay the bills and letting some of the wants and wishes be based on the market is a much more comfortable situation to be in than relying solely on the stock market to give us what we need. Because the stock market doesn't care. What if the stock market doesn't give us everything that we need? Then what happens? So that's the takeaway. I mean, I joke around all the time in presentations. I'll ask people, I'll ask the crowd, how much of your retirement income should be at risk? And generally I get answers like 10, 20, 30, maybe even sometimes. And there's always a couple in the back that kind of, gives me a shake of the head, and they're confused, and they'll be like, answer 0. I'm like, correct, finally, yes, somebody says the right answer. It's 0. None of your retirement income should ever be at risk. Nobody cares about the stock market until it's affecting their golf schedule, I say. If you want to golf 5 times a week, but because the market's down, I can only golf 3 times, that's not retirement. That's not retirement. And then, or maybe, you guys are snowbirds and you plan on going to Florida 12 weeks out of the year, and now you can only go 6. And now you're back in Northwest Ohio in the middle of March, and you get hit by that snowstorm that we just had a few weeks ago. That also is not retirement. That's not your stage. You want to be standing on a stage and be doing the things that you want to do, and you can't do it based on the market. You certainly can't do it without reliable sources of income. Social Security is a big part of that and is a cornerstone of creating that reliable income stream. But there are other ways that you can guarantee income streams to supplement Social Security, because it won't be enough. All right, so now we've come to the fun part, probably the reason why you're here, which is, how do I find out how much money I'm going to receive from Social Security? Well, the benefit you receive is based on 2 things. It's based on, again, your full retirement age for most people, which is now 67, and your primary insurance amount. Now, if you were born between 1943, or you were born 1943 or younger, your full retirement age is age 65. If you're born between 1944 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. And if you were born 1955 or later, your full retirement age 66 plus 2 months for every year you were born after 1955. Your PIA is based on your highest 35 earnings years. And then what Social Security does is they take 35 and they multiply it by 12, okay? And then they index it for inflation, and that gives us what's called as your average indexed monthly earnings, or AIM, which is pretty much the basis for forming your PIA, your primary insurance amount, or the maximum amount that you would get at age full retirement, or 67 for most. Doesn't matter how much you make. You could be Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon. You could be Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla. If they were turning 67 in 2024, doesn't matter how much they make, they would receive $3,911. That's it. That's the max for 2024 at age 67. And that's not to say that you can't get more than $3,911. You just have to wait past age 67. And in fact, the maximum 70-year benefit is approximately $4,873. So I can't tell you exactly what you're going to make from Social Security or what your benefit is going to be, but I can show you how to get it. What you do is you go to ssa.gov. So www.ssa.gov, log in, and download a copy of your Social Security statement. And so what you're going to want to check from that Social Security statement, primarily to make sure that your earnings record is correct, is make sure, first of all, that you have 35 years of earnings. And if there's any zeros, if possible, maybe you might want to consider working a few more years to increase your benefit. Okay? So that is the number one thing that you need to work with your financial advisor on, or to do yourself, is to make sure that you get a copy of your Social Security statement. Now, the offer, what we're offering to you, if you don't know how to download your copy of your Social Security statement, we can help you with that. If you are not sure even how to claim Social Security, we can help you claim Social Security. If you're ready, if you want to take advantage of a complimentary offer that we are holding out for anybody that really is interested, you can actually get a complimentary Social Security optimization report. And what this optimization report is going to do is it's going to analyze more than 700 different Social Security claiming strategies at once and identify what's the most optimal solution for you. Remember, it's going to take into consideration your assets, your age, your work history, are you still working, your spouse's information, longevity. We're going to analyze all those data points, and we're going to pinpoint exactly what the optimal strategy is. Now, as we mentioned, some folks, optimal strategy means waiting till 70. They may not want to wait till 70. And so what we'll be able to do at least is arm you with enough information to look at the benefits of waiting or the benefits of the optimal strategy, comparing it to the strategy maybe you were thinking about selecting coming into the meeting, and just make sure that the benefits outweigh the cost to you and that the strategy you ultimately select is the one that meets the majority of your specific needs. Okay, so that is our offer to you. To get a complimentary Social Security optimization report, just click on the link in the video and schedule a time for us, a convenient time for us to chat and take a look at your information and, take advantage of that free offer that I think is one of the most important things that you can do if you're concerned about being ready for retirement. Now, in closing, in America's Retirement Headquarters, we like to say retirement is wonderful if you have much to live on and much to live for. And just by being here today, you've shown that you want to take the next steps. You want to be prepared for the retirement of your dreams. So don't let the iron go cold. Strike while the iron is hot, and you are this knowledge is fresh in your mind. Don't let it go to waste. Don't let time get in the way. One of the hardest things to do sometimes is getting started. And that's one of the things that we can help you with as a financial planner, is to help you stay accountable to meeting your goals and getting a plan started. Okay, the first step starts with you clicking the link in the video and scheduling a consultation with one of the advisors here at America's Retirement Headquarters. All right, that is our presentation for you today. We appreciate your time, your interest, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day.